Hello, just wanted to give you a quick walkthrough of the assignment CP6 and CM3 for the benefit of those who weren't in class on the day that we did it, and for anybody else who just wants a bit of refresher. So CP6 is all about getting some feedback and some data on how good our content that we've been creating actually is. So the idea is that you have 4 steps. Step 1, you're going to get some data about your profile or bio, and you're going to review that and produce a little write-up on that. Step 2 is that you get some data about the social media ads or posts that you created. Step 3 is that we use a mock-up of some analytics to try and get a little bit more data about how successful those posts were. And step 4 is the merit side of the task, which is all about, based on the review of that data that you've gathered, what improvements for the future would be suitable. So 4-step process. Let's focus on step 1 first of all. This is where we're going to review the profile or bio that you created. So first step is you're going to use a Google form, and you'll find that on the study directory. In the study directory, you go to Unit 3, Learning A, B and C. Halfway down, you'll find questionnaires for feedback. Open that folder up in Google Drive, and you need to look for this one, Review of Social Media Profiles. We're going to do this one first. So you're going to right-click and go to Make a Copy. Once you've made a copy of it, pop it somewhere safe in your Google Drive so you can use it. So inside that Google form, you'll find that it's got space for 2 profiles. You only created 1, so you're going to put your profile in the most appropriate slot. If you did a Facebook profile, you're going to put your screenshot in here. If you did Instagram, you're going to put it in here. If you did Twitter or one of the other social media sites, you could just change the word Instagram to Twitter or whatever else you need. So, for example, I did a Facebook profile, so my screenshot of it will go in there. And this is the optimized version of the content. So I'd go to my content, find the snipping tool, and I would save a screenshot as a JPEG. So I'd save it and download it. And then all you do is you go to the ... and you click on change that picture. And then you can easily insert the picture of your profile. And then you've got some questions which you want people to answer. So you leave those questions in. And then for the one that you didn't need, so in my case, I didn't need this Instagram one, you can delete those questions that you didn't want. So Instagram, I can get rid of that, and that, and that. So it just leaves me with my screenshot and those 3 questions. Then you just go ahead and send that out to members of the class, people in your family, your household, friends, anybody who's going to spend a couple of minutes giving you some useful feedback. The most important thing is that you get lots and lots of information here about how things could be improved. That will really help you get your merit task. Once you have sent it out, hopefully loads of people reply to you. In my case, I got 5, which is okay. It's just about enough. Anything less than 5 is not okay. You need more responses. Otherwise, there's not enough data. So here's my survey, and my responses are in the Responses tab. And Google has already created some graphs that I can use. So I'm going to be able to use the snipping tool and put some of those into my coursework. The next thing that we're going to do with that data is you're going to go here, which is to open those responses in Google Sheets. And it looks like this. The bits that you won't have are these bits here, which I'm going to show you how to do. So this is what your data will look like. So we're going to do two simple calculations. We're going to calculate the mode, and the mode is the most common answer. And you're going to calculate the average, which is going to be the average result that you got. So mode, I'm just going to type, I've already typed those headings in there. So I'm going to put those in. You can do the same. And in here, you're going to type a function, which is equals mode, open bracket, and then click and drag down all the responses that you had for that question. Then you're going to press enter, and then you can simply drag that across, that far, and it puts that formula, that function, in every cell, so you don't have to retype it. You're going to do the same for average. So in this one, I'm going to do equals average, open bracket, click and drag down the responses, press enter, and then bottom right hand of the cell, click on the blob, the handle, and drag it over, and then you get the average of those responses as well. I've also done this. I don't really need to do this because I can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 replies, but it's a useful function to know. And this function is equals count A, and then you highlight again and press enter. It's a useful function, gives you a bit of spreadsheet experience. So now I've got some numbers to work with as well. So in the assignment brief, it shows you a bit of an example of how to write this up, and it gives you some advice as well. So you need to read that. Let's have a quick look at the summary, so the example of the profiles. So this is the first bit that I suggest you get written up. It's really easy to do. You're going to do a review of the Facebook profile or Instagram bio or whatever you've done for your profile. And you're going to put some charts and graphs in from your questionnaire. And you're going to put in the screenshot of the questionnaire. This candidate hasn't done that yet, so they haven't got CP6. So you need to make sure you put a questionnaire screenshot in, charts and graphs, and the feedback that people wrote for you. And then all you're doing is trying to find, to make some sense of the results that you got. So if you have a look at the example, you can see the sort of thing that this student found out. So you're trying to find things which are significant, which might lead you to a conclusion. So you're looking for any patterns or anything significant in that data. There's not an awful lot to write there. 3 short paragraphs is this for this student, and that was fine. So that's CP6. In the M3 section, you're looking for the improvements that you'd make. So you summarize the findings. So that's looking at the numbers that you created, the averages, the modes, and also any feedback that you received. And you're going to do a quick summary of those findings. The improvements that you write, this is how you get the M task. The improvements, like this says here, must be based on the analysis of the questionnaire and the feedback. So all the improvements here directly link to the findings that I've analysed. That's really important that you actually link your improvements to the findings of your questionnaire. And that's the first section done. So that's kind of step 1 done. It's a fairly straightforward task. And this student did it in only 450 words, which is really good. Step 2 is where you look at the social media content, the ads or the posts that you created. And you should have created 4 different advertisements that went into your social media sites. You're going to, again, get a copy of the form, and that is in study directory, and we opened it up in Google Drive, and it's this one, review of social media posts. Right click, make a copy for yourself. Similar process, all you have to do is screenshot each of your 4 ads and you're going to put them into this questionnaire. There are already 4 bright yellow spaces where you can put your ads or posts or stories, whatever you've done in there. The only thing you have to do is make sure you edit the text. So it might be that your first post is a Facebook story. So you'd write Facebook story in there. And then you just check that these questions are appropriate for what the post is. If you don't think one of them is appropriate, you can always delete it. Then you've got other questions, leave that in, and this is the most important one when you're gathering feedback. Do the same for your second post. Again, this one might be, I don't know, a Facebook status update or something else. So you change the text to describe what you've sent out. You fill that in, send it off, and again, you want to get as many people as you can to give you your results. And again, in the responses tab, you'll be able to see the charts and graphs, which are already created for you. You'll be able to see the feedback that you received. And again, you can screenshot all this stuff and put it straight into your write-up. So a lot of the hard work is kind of done for you. So you've got charts and graphs to be looking at and trying to make some sense of. Same as the last time, you're going to open up this in Sheets as well. And you'll see it's a bit of a longer spreadsheet because you've got social media post 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've just put some colour on the background here to make it easier for us to see the difference between them. So that's the last one. So these are all the results coming through. I'm going to do the same as last time. I'm going to put mode and average in. If you remember, equals mode, open bracket, click and drag, press enter, equals average, open bracket, click and drag, press enter. I'm going to highlight both of those, bottom right hand side, click on the handle and drag it all the way across. Where you've got text in those cells, you're just going to get some errors, but don't worry about that. We're only really interested in the numbers. Now, to make it just a bit clearer for me, I'm going to go to my mode because I'm going to use that in a second, and I am going to put a background color on there so it's nice and easy for me to see. Okay, so back to the assignment brief, which we're reading really carefully. And here you can see we've now sent it out and we've now received the feedback back, and it tells you what to start writing. It tells you to write an explanation, show a screenshot of the questionnaire, etc. So we're kind of at this point. Moving into step 3, this is where we're going to use what we call the analytics spreadsheet. This is a mock-up of social media analytics, which we're going to get you to use. Your teacher will have sent it to you on Google Classroom. If you can't find it, I've put a copy in here, which you can take a copy of. And it looks a little bit like this. So this one I've half done already. So when you get yours, you won't have anything written in the top section, the kind of red section at the top. There won't be anything written in there. That's the job that you need to do, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So to do to create this spreadsheet, you need 2 things. You need this analytics spreadsheet, and you need the review of your social media posts, that spreadsheet that we created earlier. So I'm going to just split my screen a little bit. Okay, so now I've got Oops, you sit over there, that's better. I've got the review of my social media posts here, and I've got this weird analytics spreadsheet over this side. So I'm going to scroll over a little bit. There we go. So now you can see that post number 1, which is at the top, social media, it's not at the top, it should be at the top, but never mind. It should say post number 1 there. And I have put in some data from this spreadsheet, my review of posts, into this one. If I scroll over a little bit. So Instagram direct ad, and this is my Instagram direct ad, and it says likes mode. So I'm looking at this row, which is where I've done my mode calculation. So here, the number of likes is 3, so I've already put 3 in there. The amount of comments that I would get, that one there, was 4. So I'm going to change that to 4. So I'm going to go through each of my social media posts, putting in the mode that I got. So 3 I've already got for share. This is a share one. And this is the click through to the website. And that's a 4. So I've done that for each of my posts. As I go through this spreadsheet, I'm just going to type in the mode every time. So I've done it for my first 3 posts, and this is the last one. So this is for my Facebook status update. Facebook status update. So I've typed that in. I sent it out on a Friday afternoon. That's because I looked at my publishing schedule. So the likes I got for this one were 1. Okay, that goes in there. Comments, I got the mode of 2. Shares were 3. And how likely am I to interact was a 4. Oops, let's put that 4 in there. So now this simulator of analytics is going to do its job in a second. So I can leave that spreadsheet alone. Let's have a look at this. So I've typed in all that data, and now I'm just going to click on this button here. Click here to sort. You might get a message which says, do you want to allow this? And you just say allow, and it will do the sort for you. Now, all you have to do is answer this question. How many people answered your survey? And for me, it was only 5, so I'm going to select 5. Putting that in has now set up some calculations. So you can see in this area, it's predicted what likes, comments, shares, etc. you would have received if this had been viewed over a few days. So it's a way of predicting what would have been the most successful ad. So this is the data you're going to use. You don't need to worry about this bit up here now. That's all done. This is the bit that you're going to put into your coursework. So you can use the snipping tool, and you only use that section. So it's a simulation of what you might see if we were actually using social media. So that can then go into your coursework. So let's have a look at the example of how to write up those last 2 steps. So the review of social media posts, I've now got lots of data. This is the first one. This is one of my posts, Instagram poll. And I can see what results I got. So that's a snip from my spreadsheet. And I've done some basic analytics on what I could see in that data. So I've tried to pull out something that I think, trying to make a bit of sense of the data I see. So I've done it for my first post here, but then I'd need to do the same for the other 3. So a little bit of feedback, trying to make sense of the data we've been given. And then for the last step, there's another example here, which looks like this. So this is that analytics spreadsheet that we looked at a minute ago, which I've just taken my snip of. So again, there's more data to be analysed. This is quite a short section. But again, trying to make sense of what this analytic data is telling me about the quality of my posts. The very last step is then, after you've done all your analysis, you write a summary for each of your 4 posts or ads, and then you make some sensible improvements to it. So you're going to make suggestions according to what the findings were. And that is kind of the M task, which is making sure that these improvements actually do respond to those findings. Inside the assignment brief, which you're going to read, you could even print it off and perhaps tick things off as you do it. It goes through a list here on the 3rd page of the things you should be reviewing for each of your posts. So looking at interaction, comparing target audience and actual audience, all these things you do need to do. And there are tick boxes at the end to remind you that these things do need to be reviewed as you go through your data. On the last page of the assignment brief, the exam board has provided you with an example of how not to write M3. So this is an example from the exam board, and it shows that this student didn't look at their findings when they wrote their feedback, when they wrote their improvements. They kind of just wrote improvements which weren't linked to anything else. When you do your improvements, just make sure that they are, this is the words from the exam board, accurate, reasoned, and based on the analysis of the questionnaire and the feedback from the people who you sent the questionnaire to. So that's it. That's a little walkthrough of CP6 and CM3. Please use the assignment brief really carefully. Look at the examples. It's not complicated. This is an M and a P task, so it's not a major brain ache. This should be a relatively straightforward thing as long as you use the resources that you've been given. Good luck.